Welcome to the Human Conversation podcast with Jules White, the real dragon slayer, author and entrepreneur sales coach. Tune in weekly for human conversation about business and sales. Enjoy business expert interviews, educational episodes, and virtual cuppas with entrepreneur business owners. So grab yourself a cuppa and enjoy. Here is your host, Jules White.
So welcome everybody to the Human Conversation. I do love that name. I really do, because that's exactly what we have here on this podcast. We have human conversations. I have a wonderful lady with me. I've known this lady, I would say, a couple of years now. Actually, very early on in my journey, we had one of these virtual cuppas on Zoom, and I just got to know her, and we just stayed in touch ever since and built a wonderful connection. So I have the founder of It Starts With You. What a fabulous name. And it is Sam Adams. So Sam, welcome.
Hi Jules, great to see you.
Great to see you too.
I think we've known each other, I think it's about 3 years, you know.
Do you know, it might be. This time just is flying. It's going far too quick, really, isn't it? That's the fact. But I think what's nice about our relationship is we've just kind of always stayed in touch. Yeah. And then we've had these odd Zoom calls to catch up, and obviously you were in Spain for a while. Now you're back in the UK, and then even more recently we went to TEDx together.
That was good. That was a good day, wasn't it?
Wasn't it?
What a great day that was.
It was wonderful.
I came along to your keynote.
Yes.
You did a keynote speak at I forget the platform now, but I can't remember the name of the event. But
it was the Grow 19 conference. Yeah. So you did come to that too, to support me, which is so appreciated. So I love you very much for all your support.
No, you were literally like 20 minutes down the road. There was no way I wasn't going to come, and it was amazing to see you anyway, to see you speak, and you know, it was just a really great event. And TEDx was exactly the same. That was a bit more chilled, obviously, because you weren't speaking, but that was just it was just so nice. And just like you talk about human connection, but it's great that we can do this Zoom stuff and we have all of this technology, but you cannot beat meeting up face to face with someone, I don't think.
I couldn't agree more. And I think I want to still carry on talking about TEDx, because this is a human conversation. It doesn't have to be in any order, does it?
No, exactly.
TEDx is nice because obviously my TEDx talk was at Brighton in 2018. When I went with you then just before Christmas, as you say, I was in the audience. So how wonderful was that I could just relax and watch, and it does totally change your life going to TEDx, doesn't it, Sam?
Just being, the listeners won't know, but TEDx is on my goal list to do a TEDx. I live in Brighton. I want to do Brighton TEDx, but actually I always wanted to do it, but going and experiencing the day absolutely level it up the game for me. It's just like, I absolutely have to do this. The energy and the people that we met, and luckily because we were both in the VIP bit, we got to meet some of the speakers, and that was just amazing. I won't forget that day I'm not sure I'll ever forget it, but certainly for a very long time. There's so much energy, and it was just so awesome to be at. Really, really was a great day. It
was, and it was lovely to share it with you, to be honest, as well.
So
we did. So let's talk about Sam, because obviously our listeners, they don't know anything about Sam Adams.
Yeah.
And what I usually do in my conversations, because I'm a little bit nosy, but also I think it's a journey. It's quite nice to find out actually where you started. So if you just give us a little bit about where you started, and then we can come up to today when we talk about what you're doing now. That would be very cool. So tell us, where did you start, Sam?
Well, I've been in business my 20th year, so I started in the year 2000. So
wow,
around that time, so like 20 years now. I've worked for myself. Started off, first business I ever did was network marketing, which was really good for me. I built a successful little business through that, and I did really well. Went on a couple of really nice trips. But it really got me into personal development. I'd kind of discovered it a little bit before, but it really exploded all of that. Have you ever done any network marketing or anything like that?
I don't suppose I have. My Truly Madly Baby business, in some ways, it was party planned. So it was that kind of process of growing a community,
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of network marketing business, there is a hell of a lot of personal development chucked in with it. So I kind of just opened my eyes to that world. And then because I had a team, I then had to train the team and lead the team. And then I ended up speaking at a big conference, and I got really excited about speaking at an event. So that was kind of the start of my journey. But then I brought into that the little side hustle of doing up properties. And I really love property. I love doing things up and seeing it all crappy and horrible and then turning it into something shiny and new and looking amazing and thinking, wow, I did that. Do you know what I mean? I loved that whole experience. So that became my main driver and my main business. And I stepped away from network marketing. And so then, so I've been in property for 20 years. So I was flipping and renovating, did a couple of other property strategies like lease options. And then due to sort of tragic circumstances, my sister's partner died, and I ended up buying my first buy-to-let property for my sister to live in with her. She had a little baby at the time, 4-month-old baby. So then I started to build my property portfolio, which, like I say, was 2005. So then I kind of changed tack. I set up a little cleaning business because my sister needed a job because she was suddenly a single parent. So it kind of changed everything around property, and I just focused on, building my portfolio really. Once I'd been in property for a while, I then got into sort of a little bit of mentoring and coaching around property strategies. And I enjoyed it because I like dealing with people, but the biggest part of that is the personal development stuff that I really, really love. And that comes from way back at the beginning of my journey, really. And then I ended up spending a lot of time in Spain, as you know. I've got a couple of houses there, but I was trying to do some remote coaching in that, but I struggled with that really. And I wanted to do more speaking as well, and obviously being in a different country, that's kind of challenging.
Yeah, it is. And I think, listening to your journey, a lot of things seem to happen because other things happen.
Yeah.
Don't you find that's really interesting in our journeys? Because I'm exactly the same. I guess some of the things I went through weren't things I would have necessarily planned, but when something else happened here, it led to me then doing this, or doing that. So it's interesting, isn't it?
A to B in a straight line, is it? Like, obviously when so like in 2005, my sister came back to live in the UK with her little baby, as I said, and her partner. And the plan was that he was going to help me renovate and flip and do stuff like that. So my plan wasn't to build a buy-to-let portfolio at all, but because of circumstances and what happened, and my sister needed a home, and I didn't have a business partner because obviously Tony passed away. I just went down the tack of building a buy-to-let portfolio and set up a cleaning business.
But again, all of those skills you've learned, Sam, because you did that, that's what I always think about. I guess sitting here, it's easy for us to say that because it's easy to say, oh, yeah, well, if I hadn't have done this, I couldn't do this. But at the time, I guess we're thinking, oh, my goodness, what do I do next? Or, oh, well, I'm just going to have to do this. Sometimes it's a case of survival even, isn't it? I had Sam, he was 4 years old. I was a single mum, unemployed and bankrupt. So it's a bit like, oh, what do I do next? So
it just shows how much resilience and how much one thing I always say around with entrepreneurs and business people is, and I do a little talk about resilience, and one of the biggest parts about being resilient is being flexible and adaptable. Yeah. Because if you can't do that, you're just you can't bend and you'll break. Instead, you'll just snap and it will just break. So you have to learn to be flexible, which you obviously you were when yours predicament, and I had to adapt to the situation. And if you're rigid in your thinking and your processes, it will break at some point. That's one of the things that I believe anyway.
I think it's a really good analogy for people to consider because it describes it so well. It's so true, isn't it? And it is hard to be flexible. Of course it is. We feel disappointed, we feel lost, we feel scared. There's so many emotions that happen, but it is about embracing those, I think, and saying, do you know what, I'm just going to try and be a bit brave here sometimes. I know that's how I felt.
No, absolutely. And I think once you've done that a few times, because, like you, I've had, many challenges. I think when you're in business or just life, it throws stuff at you. So you're going to get many opportunities to be tested and learn to be flexible and adaptable. Because I honestly think if you want to be successful, resilience is a key part of all of that. And you have to learn to kind of roll with the punches. And it's very difficult sometimes when something comes at you and something happens, and you're upset about it, you're hurt by it, you feel cheated, you feel lost, you feel, deceived or whatever, to then take that and think, okay, well, I'm going to go and do this instead.
Yeah.
You can't just do that, can you? Like, oh
no, yeah, I'll just leave that here because it was really devastating, and I'm going to go and do this now.
there's that process in between, isn't there?
Yeah.
To that. But I think the more of the situations you have like that, hopefully you build more resilience, and then you understand that actually, you've got to turn this around quickly. Yeah. Like yesterday, I was due to do a podcast interview with a lady called Heather Monahan. She's a best-selling author from America, very well-known in America. She's and she was supposed to. We were supposed to do it at 5:00, and 4:30. She messaged me saying, "I'm really sorry, I've got an issue with my son. I can't do it." And I was really excited to have her on the podcast because, she's probably the highest profile person I've managed to bag into my podcast. And it probably took me about 5 minutes because I was really upset. And I know it's first world problem at the end of the day. It's a podcast, it's whatever. But actually 5 minutes later, I'm like, no, right, okay. She hasn't said no, we can't reschedule. She hasn't, do you know what I mean? And as it turns out, my dog was sick and I needed to go to the vet. So it meant that I could go and do that. So there is, one of my mentors says that for every downside, there's an upside. I know that's quite hard sometimes to take on board, but actually, if you can be flexible, if you can be adaptable, if you can, think outside the box, then you can find in a lot of situations that actually there's a positive and there may be a better outcome. And as it turns out, she's rescheduled for Friday, and I'm super happy about that.
Fantastic. And you know what? It will be an even better interview than it would have been yesterday. You know that, don't you?
Communication now, you see.
Yeah, you know that. So look, you've obviously left us at the moment in terms of that you're in property. I know that obviously that's changed. You've moved to something else, which is one of your real passions. So how did that transition happen? Tell us a bit more about the journey.
From property to coaching and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, it came from the property stuff because obviously I used to do a little bit of mentoring and coaching around that, which I enjoyed, but I like the personal development stuff. And then I was trying to do some remotely in Spain. But my real passion has always been sort of just inspiring people and helping people grow and go after whatever it is that they want. And that is absolutely my passion. If I had 2 messages from people yesterday just thanking me for inspiring them, helping them. And I can't tell you how much that benefits me. They have a benefit, but it boosts me and it makes me feel amazing. And I think last year, and probably actually the year before, I was really realizing that this is my true love, my true passion, and I really need to just go for it and do what I love. I know that I can help people. I know that I can inspire people. So I just need to just go with it, and which is what I've finally decided to do. Yeah,
and it's been lovely watching your journey because, of course, I keep saying journey. It's all a journey, actually. Yeah. This new venture and new business journey that you've been on has been lovely to watch because I have just seen it evolve and become.
We had conversations about that, didn't we? If it's 2 or 3 years ago, whenever it was. But I remember having that conversation with you and kind of knowing where I wanted to go, but finding it hard to kind of go there. Whereas now I'm just like, I'm all in. I'm all in.
But that's what happens when you finally get to that place where you just know what you're doing is the right thing. And sometimes it takes a little while to find that. When I started my business, it was called Compassio Coaching. Okay. Some of you guys listening might remember this. And it was just my first starting point. I wanted to be a coach. I was going to coach everything and anything, Sam. Because I could, everyone, anything, throw it at me, I can help you. And Compassio meant empathy in Latin.
Oh, okay.
It all felt really lovely and it felt right. But actually, I was still no closer to realising what I actually really wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then a conversation with my old Yellow Pages boss said, basically, he said, it's great you're going to be a coach, but what are you going to coach? I said the same answer I've just said to you. And he said, why aren't you coaching sales? Yeah. And it was just this really obvious thing to him that should be what I did. And I was thinking, why would I want to do that when I've been doing sales for 30 years? It's like, you're mad. And came off the phone and realised I had this massive light bulb moment. I thought, actually, I love sales. It's my world and I know it.
You know it and you love it. And
exactly.
it shines through that you love it.
Yeah. And that's the feeling that you've just described, where you just realise and you think, this is what I love. When someone says, you've changed my life, or I've just got my first sale because of the things you helped me with, it's like, oh.
It feels so good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing.
I'm very fortunate enough to know Les Brown, the motivational speaker, and he said to me once, I'm lucky he's a bit of a mentor to me, and he said to me once, look, just do what you love, because you'll be super passionate about it, and you'll be so good at it because you're passionate about it. Eventually people will pay you to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And the whole paying you to do stuff thing that some people get a bit hung up on and feel it's a bit dirty when you start talking about money. I always bring it back to, as you do, value. And it's actually about value and the value you provide. So tell us a little bit about your business.
The brand.
Yes, the brand.
One of my other mentors said the brand of Sam is what he said.
I love it. I love this because I think this is a great brand. What is it called? Tell us about it.
It starts with you. It starts with you. So that's kind of like the overriding business, which I still need to register, by the way, but that's what it will be called. And off of that comes sort of three things: speaking, coaching, and the podcast. And that's the three sort of underlying elements in that business. So that's the brand of Sam now. And the reason I called it that was because I'm a firm believer in us all taking responsibility for where we're at in our lives. Now, I know some people struggle with that because they think, well, this person did that to me, this happened to me, that happened to me. But if we can get to a place of taking responsibility for where we are, and that everything does start with us, then we empower ourselves and we have control over our life. The minute you start blaming and pointing the finger, you lose control and you disempower yourself.
Yeah.
So the whole thing about it starts with you is that to know that that's a good thing, that it is a good thing that it starts with us. It's a good thing that we live in the Western world and we have so much choice available to us and opportunity. It's just down to us to pull the trigger, to make that decision and to make that choice.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of my thinking and thought process behind it all, really.
It does make sense. I think, for me, it starts with you is absolutely the starting point. Funnily enough, when you look at Live It, Love It, Sell It, the Live It part is all about sales mindset. Well, who's in charge of mindset? Well, you are. So it's exactly the same principles. I think if we get the you bit right, and that's kind of like ownership and confidence and ownership's a big thing, I think. The whole blame thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brené Brown talks beautifully about blame. She's got a couple of really neat little short videos.
Brilliant, isn't she?
If anyone follows her, and they're fun and she's funny, but actually she makes such really great points about blame and that it's just actually so pointless. It's quite a human thing that we do, isn't it? Or when we blame someone else for something that's gone wrong, But I'm loving this. It starts with you. This is super, super stuff. So I kind of understand that you've got these three kind of threads, if you like, that come off that umbrella brand. Loving that. I love threes, as you know.
I know.
The speaking stuff kind of goes without saying. I mean, you are a great speaker. You're going to get this TEDx. It's going to be awesome. So this is just 2020. This is going to happen.
2020, making it happen.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I think obviously the podcast. Talk us a little bit through the podcast, because that would be quite good to know how that's going to kind of link into that brand, Sam.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, I just sort of got back into things with, like, I need to speak more and I need to coach because I love coaching. But again, a mentor of mine was talking about podcasting and saying how valuable it would be. And it's a great tool to gain visibility and to, for people to find me and obviously hear insight from other people. And actually a friend of mine, I went to dinner about a year ago with a friend of mine, Karen, and she said to me then, you need to do a podcast. You've got a good voice. I'm sure you can get loads of great guests on. And I was like, oh, God, no, everyone's doing a podcast.
Yeah.
I completely dismissed it. And then obviously I've got a new mentor, and he said to me, "Oh, you need to get a podcast." And I started to think about it, and I spoke to a couple of people who've got good podcasts, and I know that you've got a podcast, obviously. And I sort of thought, well, maybe it is a good tool. I do like to talk, so I get to talk more.
Exactly.
That'll be a really good thing. And I know a few people, amazing people, yourself being one, and I know that you're going to honour me and be on my podcast, which will be amazing. So I thought, I think I'd probably get some good guests as well. So I really just thought, actually, let me just give it a go. And I think one of the biggest issues I had with the podcast was how consistent I could be, because I wasn't feeling the love to begin with. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to have to do one every week and find this. And do you know what I mean? I just thought, I don't know if I can be consistent. But then Rob said to me, well, just, be consistent, but it doesn't mean you have to do one a week. Commit to one a month or one every other week or whatever feels right. But just be consistent, but you don't have to be consistent as in 2 or 3 a week or whatever.
No, I mean,
maybe I can commit to one a month.
And what I tend to do is I just publish them when I can. So I'm not under that pressure. But I'm probably publishing on average 2 a month.
Right.
That's quite a nice sort of level to be at, because if you leave it too long, of course, sometimes your followers don't, they go off, wander off, and maybe they'll go somewhere else, because podcasting is huge now. And I think my take on podcasting is quite interesting, because I never did it in terms of thinking it was a monetary stream or, a way to make money or even be top of the charts. I kind of did it because, a bit like you, love talking. But also I just thought, actually, this is a really cool way of people to get to know who I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you think about the fact that you are going to be speaking, you're a coach, podcasting, I think, the way I see it, is it's a massive way for you to show us what your personality is, your UHP, Sam.
Yeah.
Human proposition.
Oh, yes.
That's how I get all these bits.
I knew you'd get that in.
But it's true. And I think, if you can't see someone visually, when you hear them, you still get that lovely feel as to what they're like,
Absolutely. It's such a great tool. I have to say, now that I've got going with it, I'm really excited about it.
Good. You keep doing it.
But now I'm like, I absolutely love it.
Yeah, you keep doing it. I think it's great. So look, just to kind of round up then, obviously the coaching, tell us a little bit about how you work with people, what you help them with.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, I'm not one of those coaches that's sort of done years and years of training and is going to rock up with a generic form and questionnaire. That's not me. And I always say to people, if that's the kind of coach that you want, then I'm not the coach for you. I've done a bit of NLP, but I don't really use it with my coaching. My coaching style is it's kind of real coaching, and that's not my words. I'm using the words of my mentor, and it's sort of I use sort of the lessons I've learned from the experiences I've had through life, through 52 years on the planet and 20 years in business, and all of those adversities and life experiences. I just use all the tools that I've developed over the years to help me deal with that and things in business, and I use all of that in my coaching. It's kind of a little bit, I would say it's no BS kind of coaching, but it doesn't mean I'm not empathic or sympathetic at times, but I will push you because that's my job. I feel like, you're not hiring me to give you a pat on the back and a cuddle. I can do that, sure. But at the end of the day, most people don't want a coach or a mentor to do that. They want someone, at times they'll need that. I had a client tonight and they needed a little bit of support, but equally, I'm there to get you a result. And that's what it's all about. That's what people want, isn't it? At the end of the day, they're probably stuck, frustrated. They're not getting what they want right now. They're not getting the results they want. They're not where they want to be. So most of my clients are small business owners, generally, sort of people that may have a business and then sort of got, like one client I've got at the moment, he's got a business, but he's got sort of 11 self-employed people that work directly to him. I've got another lady's got a similar business. She's got 10. So, and it's her main sort of business. So those kind of people, a couple of PTs, which I've drawn sports people to me, which I don't mind because I love sport.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing, really. But somebody called me a life coach the other day, and I was a bit like, oh, I don't like that. I'm not a life coach. And then I thought about it a little bit, and I thought, well, I guess there's many prongs to a life coach, isn't it? Because like I'd help people, because my thing is there's no business development without personal development. You've got to grow yourself in order to grow your business.
Yeah.
So it's a two-pronged attack, really, that we have.
Yeah.
And I think any kind of coaching, relationship coaching, business coaching, personal coaching, whatever, it's all life, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
About it, I thought, well, yeah, I suppose it, you know, and I do very much say to my clients, look, we have to look at you from a personal development point of view and what's going on emotionally, physically, financially, and business. It's 4 areas of attack from a two-pronged parallel sort of approach. And because everything crosses over, everything filters into your emotional life, your personal life, crosses over into your business life. And therefore, I guess, yeah, it is kind of like life coaching in a way, but that's not how I'd term myself.
No, of course. But I think, you know, what would your typical client be coming to you for? You know, what's that kind of story that they would have?
Yeah, I mean, typically they want to grow their business. They want to get a result. A lot, I think, are stuck. They're literally, their income's stuck. They're struggling to grow and probably juggling too many balls, and therefore in a position of overwhelm and a bit disorganized. And you know what that's like when you're like that. You're just not focused. You don't make good decisions. You don't do good quality work. So they want to grow, but of course they're completely stuck and frustrated because they're juggling all these balls, and there's no way they can take on another ball and grow the business. And you know, so that's typically, I think, people that come to me are in that sort of, from a business point of view, they're in that position. So they want to get unstuck. They want to be able to take on more in order to grow and get better results. But what I've found with pretty much everyone is there's always this personal stuff going on.
Yeah.
Because like I say, the two it all filters over.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's so true. And it's exactly the same in many cases with my clients, even though we're focusing on sales, as I said earlier.
Yeah.
You know, it'll be some fear, you know, that's driving them not being able to move forward with their sales strategies. And it's just very interesting because I've always said life skills are sales skills. Life skills are business skills, really. You know, they all, you're right, they all intertwine together, don't they? And so if I wanted to work with you, do I do so many sessions, or you know, how do you work with your clients, Sam?
Well, what I do is I work in quite a simple way now. I've sort of changed it and evolved as these things do, and it's literally the minimum I work with someone for is 2 months, because I just think any less than that, we're just not really going to get a lot done. I used to I will do a 1-day intensive session, but I always like, there has to be some follow up with that. There has to be some support off the back of that, really. Yeah. Typically 2 months is the shortest period of time. And then you can go on to do a 6-month or a 12-month longer term plan, program, package, whatever you want to call it. But and anyone that starts with me, we always start off with an initial 1-to-1. And that can be anything from 2 hours to 4 or 5 hours. It just depends on each client. The last one I did, which was week before last, that was 3 hours. But it just depends where someone's at, and you know. And then and I tailor it to each client. I don't say, right, if you have a 2-month package or an 8-week package, whatever you want to call it, you're going to get 4 1-to-1s for that. You know, someone might need 6. Someone might only need 2, and they're happy with Skype, or they're better on WhatsApp. I don't care. You've got me for 8 weeks. If you come in for a 2-month package, you've got me for 8 weeks. If you want to do 4 1-to-1s and that, and 3 Skypes, it doesn't matter. It's what you need. Yeah. The price is the price, and you have me for that time. Do you know what I mean? If you call me and I don't answer, I'll always call you back. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of like how I do it. I know a lot of coaches work very differently, and they like to keep much tighter parameters around it. Like, you're going to get 4 sessions. You know, I don't answer WhatsApp after 8 o'clock at night. I'm not like, if I'm around, I'm going to do it because I love what I do, and I want to over deliver. I want to give value. I don't make any bones about that with my clients. I say, look, I want you to have a good experience. Not only, you know, because that's going to benefit you, and that will have a ripple effect to other people in your life, which is my whole mission. at the end of the day, and then you'll go and tell your friends about me anyway, and then I'll be able to help even more people.
No, exactly.
Value, I absolutely do. So it doesn't bother me, you know.
Yeah. I was going to say, I love that approach, because I think, you know, and I'm the same with my clients, you know, I really look at actually what they really need. You know, and often they'll bolt on extra sessions and take it on even further, but that's their choice then, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just think that that's a really nice way to work. You don't feel like you're putting anyone under pressure. You're not having sessions for the sake of it, because that's the other thing that might happen is actually you don't really need any more sessions because they need to go away and do some stuff, you know.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes, like, you know, what I've found in the past is that actually somebody could start off and think, well, you know, I'm probably only going to need a couple of one-to-ones, and then something happens in life, in business, and you know, they might have an issue and they think, actually, no, I could really do with a sort of hour of your time or just a half an hour for a coffee and chat. Am I going to say no? No, I'm not. You know, you don't know what life's going to bring up or going to chuck up at you. So how can you? So that's why I do it like I do. I hope that I'll always do it like that. Will it change at some point? I don't know. Maybe if my time becomes a bit more pressurized, but I want to give as much as I possibly can when it's needed, at the time it's needed, rather than we're having one every other week for 4 weeks, or do you know what I mean? It's life isn't like that. You know, if it was, we'd all be wealthy, successful, and where we want to be. Yeah. But hey, like we were talking about earlier, being flexible and adaptable. We want to get from A to B. It's no straight line, and it's just, you know what I mean. It's that same kind of thinking around how I coach and what I put together.
Yeah, brilliant.
If you book up for 2 months, I'm here for you.
Yeah, no, it makes complete sense, Sam. So look, I guess like my final question, because sadly we have kind of come to the end of our time together. I always feel quite sad, really, because I know I could speak to people for hours. I'm not sure our listeners would want to sit and listen for hours.
I recorded a podcast this morning, and we probably could have talked for about 3 hours. So it's just like you get to it's like it's been about 40 minutes. I think we've about 30 minutes, and it's like
that's it. Like they've finished their drive to work, they cannot listen to this podcast any longer, and we're still there chatting away. But look, last words of wisdom. Have you got anything you want to kind of leave the audience with that will make them remember Sam, but equally connects to the sort of work you're trying to do?
Well, I think it's just around it all starts with you, you know. That's what I want to leave people with, that trying to encourage people to remember that phrase and embrace it, that it is a good thing that it starts with you. Because if you can remember that in times of struggle, or when curveballs come at you, adversities or challenges, remember it all starts with you. You have a choice in your attitude, you have a choice in your decisions and your choices and which direction you take. And remember that we're not, you know, time, we're not getting any more of it. Every second that goes by is a second you're not getting back. Yeah. So make good use of your time as well.
Yeah, I love that, Sam. That's such a great thing to leave the audience with, isn't it? And they have a choice whether they take our advice on it, don't they?
We have a choice.
Exactly. So look, I'll make sure that obviously all your links go in the bottom.
Yeah, please do. Thank you, Jules.
So that everybody knows how to connect with you. Have you got a favourite place where you definitely like people to connect with you?
Well, I love Instagram. So it's just Sam Adams Coach. I'm the same on it. LinkedIn, Sam Adams Coach, and on Facebook, just put in Sam Adams, you'll find me. But there is, I've just got a page now for It Starts With You, and there is an It Starts With You group as well. So you can get some free coaching in there. So come to that.
Yes, one. You have to join the Facebook group.
It Starts With You, and then Facebook page, which is It Starts With You. Facebook page is really pretty much predominantly around the podcast and talking about guests coming up and what's going to be happening.
Great. So I love it. I love what you've done. I love how it's all evolving. It feels really good. It's definitely coming together, and I feel like I'm really excited about 2020. I'm hoping that my ticket to TEDx 2020 is to watch Sam Adams.
Yeah, I'll get there. I will make it happen.
You will, definitely. Thank you for joining us. Lovely to chat to you as always. And thank you, listeners. I hope you've enjoyed our warblings, Sam and I, about the fact that actually it starts with you, and it's such a great title, it's such a great brand, and it's true. It's a true story. So go away and be inspired, everyone. Make your choices because you have them, and tune into us. You choose to tune into us next time to listen to The Human Conversation. We are on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify, we're on SoundCloud, and now we're also on Stitcher. So please like, subscribe, follow, comment. Thank you for your support and listening. We will see you next time on The Human Conversation. Ta-da for now.
You've just been listening to the Human Conversation podcast with Jules White. To find out more about the other work that Jules does, please visit her website www.liveitloveitsellit.co.uk. And if you enjoyed the podcast, then please do leave a rating and review on the platform you use to enjoy her show. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.